I was born with a rapid heartbeat. When I turned 48, I started to have these palpitations. And then I went to the doctors and said about these palpitations and that, and she said, I think you might be at the start of the menopause. So anyway, I was put on to medication which they call beta blockers, which help the palpitations and mainly help you to sort of like stay in control of your life. I was probably had anxiety all my life, but never really took any notice of it. I've sung basically for nearly 25 years off and on, but I turned professionally, I would think, in my 30s. These palpitations were coming more and more, and I began to think about them more and more. And if I could tell anybody to just carry on with their life and not to think about them, because I've learned now to sort of like try to go on with your life, but in the moment it just kind of like takes over. When they put my medication up, it more or less, as I look back at it now, increased my anxiety, increased my palpitations as to what I was thinking. From then on in, things began to go from bad to worse. The palpitations went worse, the anxiety went worse, my working life suffered, my life changed dramatically. I became a recluse. I didn't know what was happening to me. All I knew was that I was going through the menopause, but I didn't think the menopause would be as harmful as it was to me. The name for what I had was called STVs. You become very agitated, very anxious and very confused, so you really don't know what's going on because all you can feel is this rapid heartbeat. I was given my options, and he said, you can 1, stay on medication for the rest of your life, you can 2, learn how to cope with it, and 3, you can get a procedure done at Newcastle which will A, sort you out, or B, if they don't sort you out, then it's back to medication. But he did say that this was 95% that it will correct what's going wrong and you will be able to get on with the rest of your life. So straight away I said, I will have the procedure. My determination then, I'd really sort of like was focusing on this procedure, because I thought if I get this procedure done, everything will be okay, as I thought. Before I went to hospital, I was told by the doctor to see, he was going to introduce me to a group called Familiar Faces. And at the time, he just mentioned the name of Louise Harold. The Familiar Faces group are people that the doctors put you onto because you have more time to be with people from Familiar Faces than you do with the doctor. I never thought that these people could help me because I was so involved in would a palpitation come when I was talking to these people. So at the beginning, it really didn't do a lot for me because I was so wanting to get rid of these palpitations that were taking over my life. So virtually I knew that Louise and Julie from Familiar Faces were trying to help me, but all the time my anxiety then was sky high. I believe this procedure that I went for lasts for 2 hours. As I was on the table, he said to me, Judith, it's been successful. We've corrected the heart rate. To me then, my life should have kick-started back to normal, but it didn't because my anxiety didn't leave me and I couldn't see how I was going to get through Christmas. Christmas was frightening to me. But in this time, I was seeing Julie and Louise from Familiar Faces. These were the people that were my lifeline. My anxiety had taken a turn for the worse because I couldn't get my husband to understand that I still needed help. And to me, still needing help wasn't helping, that I wasn't getting the help from him wasn't doing me any good. So I started to put everything that I had into Julie and Louise. These people at that time were the only people that understood where I was coming from. And I said to them one day, I said, I don't think that I'll ever get my life back. But from day one, they said to me, you will get through this. You will get through this. It will take time. And at that time, you don't want anybody to say that it will take time. You want to be fixed, because my heart was fixed. So I wanted a quick fix, thinking, I've gone through that. Why am I like this now? And the only things I had to look forward to was coming to see Julie and Louise. I can't specify enough how them people virtually picked me up off the floor. And then they said to me, as we were doing our talks, they said, we need to find you somewhere that you'll be able to go to and talk to about similar things that are happening in their life, that are happening in your life. So in January, I was introduced to Gateway for Women. A whole new world for me. If I can tell anyone to seek help, and I know now from my experiences that people say there's nobody to help, there are people to help. But you have got to get your doctor to find these people to help you. When you are suffering with anxiety, to be on your own is not a good thing. You need to go to people that will be calm, that will understand you, that will listen to you, and that will help you. And when I went to Familiar Faces, this was like the first step for me, because you couldn't go straight to a room full of people. You had, because your confidence is knocked, your personality is knocked, and you have to go to just one person. For this one person, you feel safe. They are listening to you. They are telling you, writing things down that you can take home with you. And she said, tell me everything you're feeling. And the words would flow from my mouth, but they were all negative. And she wrote them down. And we said, we have to put these negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And when I looked at them, I was amazed at what I'd said. But looking at your paperwork, you then remember, because you have to write it down, because anxiety makes you forget. When I felt anxious, I would read these strategies. I would take them in. And that is the point in your life when you take them in. If you don't read them, you're never going to learn. The point I got out from the strategies was the exercises they gave you, and the breathing exercises they gave you, and not to get yourself into situations where you can't get out of them. When you go away from that, you've got your strategies from Familiar Faces when you go home, and you've also got this Gateway for Women that you can go to every week. You know, you can, and it gives you a focus. It became a very important part of my life, and I started to change. Even my husband saw the changes in me, because not only were I seeing Familiar Faces still, I was seeing Gateway for Women. So this was more that was getting me involved in life. A big light came for me from April, and then this whole new world opened up to me that I thought about getting my career back. What sticks in your mind is what Julie and Louise said to you at the beginning: you will get through this, because that's all you keep asking people. Will I get through this? So the strategies come in to pick you up from your lowest ebb to somehow seeing a light. I have a different outlook on life. Me and my husband are fine. I've just gone back to work. People from Familiar Faces, and they help you to find determination in yourself, okay? And I cannot stipulate enough how these people have helped me, because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have ever found out about Gateway for Women. And you have got to have that determination. Every time I signed off on my journal, I signed, I want to find my determination. And each time I signed off, still looking for my determination. It is there, but I have to find it. When I found it, I knew I was going to get better.